A boy named Park Yong-ho lives with his mother and his sister Chammy. They had just moved from a small village to the city. Therefore, Yong-ho and Chammy had to start the first day of school again at a new school. Yong-ho goes to an all-boys school, while Chammy goes to an all-girls school. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a geeky student named Jin-soo was being confronted by some school bullies, led by a student named Ki-ta. Jin-soo refused to give them his pocket money when they asked for it. Needless to say, they then grabbed Jin-soo's money by force, and they even hit him. Yong-ho, who happened to pass by the alley, saw the incident. However, he just watched and did nothing, then left. Then it was time for the class to start, and it turned out that Yong-ho was sitting next to Jin-soo, the student who had been bullied by Ki-ta and his friends earlier. During the break time, Ki-ta showed up again, and then warned Jin-soo for having reported him to the school counselor. He was just silent at Ki-tae's threat, as he wasn't the one who reported him. Yong-ho, who was next to Jin-soo, then gave Ki-ta a sharp look, and it seemed that Ki-ta was annoyed at how Yong-ho seemed to be challenging him. Ki-tae then threatened Yong-ho not to do anything to him if he wanted to stay alive. Instead of being scared by Ki-tae's threat, Yong-ho just smiled at him. After Ki-tae and his gang left, Jin-soo asked Yong-ho to be more careful with Ki-ta. When Yong-ho heard Ki-tae's name, he was surprised. Ki-tae's name reminded him of his elementary school friend, and it was true that Yong-ho and Ki-ta had studied at the same elementary school when they were kids. After school, Yong-ho accidentally found a boxing training center, and he felt interested in practicing boxing. When he entered the gym, there was no one there, so he took the opportunity to try out some boxing equipment while he was there. A while later, the owner of the boxing gym came and scolded him for using his equipment without permission. Yong-ho then said that he was interested in enrolling in the training center. The boxing coach then gave him a form to fill out and said that he could start training tomorrow. But Yong-ho said that he wanted to start training as soon as today. From that day on, Yong-ho started practicing boxing with passion and seriousness. Later that night, Yong-ho was worried because his sister hadn't come home yet. He then called her and asked her to come home soon. But Chan Mei didn't want to because she still wanted to enjoy her time at the karaoke club with her boyfriend. Yong-ho felt annoyed, and then he decided to go find her. In the middle of the route, Yong-ho met Ki-tae and his friends. One of Ki-tae's friends called him and asked him to come. Ki-tae then asked for his name, and when Yong-ho said that his name was Park Yong-ho, he finally figured out that Yong-ho was his childhood friend. Ki-tae then invited him to have a drink with him while reminiscing about their childhood. Ki-tae asked about Yong-ho's parents, and Ki-tae told him that his father had passed away. After telling stories and reminiscing about their childhood, Yong-ho later said that he had to leave. A few moments later, Yong-ho finally found Chan Mi, who was having fun with her boyfriend. Yong-ho then called her and took her home immediately. However, Chan Mi snapped and was very upset at how her brother was acting. She said that Yong-ho was too strict with her. The next day, Yong-ho invited Jin-soo to his house because he wanted Jin-soo to help him study math. During the study time, Yong-ho struggled to understand Jin-soo's explanation, and it made him hungry. Yong-ho then invited Jin-soo to eat noodles together. While enjoying the noodles, Jin-soo asked why Yong-ho wanted to study math so badly. Yong-ho then answered that it was his father's wish. His dad wanted him to study hard. From then on, Yong-ho and Jin-soo became close friends. Ki-ta and his gang were spending time together and partying at a karaoke bar. Unexpectedly, a group of third-year students led by the bald guy, Chung-gil, arrived and disrupted them. Given the arrival of Chung-gil and his friends, Ki-tae and his friends could only remain resigned because he didn't dare to fight back against his seniors. At the boxing training center, Yong-ho saw one of the students who was being trained by the coach, and he seemed to feel jealous of him since the coach let him train on his own. But it didn't discourage him, so he practiced on his own by copying the moves that the coach was teaching the other boy. The following day, Ki-tae gang bullied Jin-soo again, and when Yong-ho saw the incident, he tried to defend Jin-soo. A fight finally broke out in the classroom. Yong-ho beat up the bullies one by one, and he was able to take them down easily. Ki-tae was surprised when he saw Yong-ho, who was good at fighting. He then warned him not to interfere with his business, or else Yong-ho would never feel peaceful and comfortable at school. After Ki-tae had gone, a student named Sang-hoon praised Yong-ho for having the courage to go against Ki-tae's gang. Meanwhile, Ki-tae scolded his friends because he felt embarrassed for what Yong-ho did to his gang members. One of Ki-tae's friends then suggested that they should get back to Yong-ho to preserve the honor of his gang. Ki-ta stayed silent after hearing his friend's suggestion. It seemed like he didn't want to act recklessly. On the way home from school, Sang-hoon, who had been waiting for Yong-ho, then introduced his friend, Hak-soo, to Yong-ho. Apparently, Hak-soo was amazed by what Yong-ho had done to defend Jin-soo and stop Ki-tae's gang with his martial arts skills. Later on, Yong-ho, Sang-hoon, and Hak-soo went to a food stall to have lunch together. It is revealed that Sang-hoon and Hak-soo really hate Ki-ta for bullying the weak students at school. After enjoying lunch together, Yong-ho then took Sang-hoon and Hak-soo to the gym. While there, Yong-ho revealed to them that he was actually afraid of Ki-ta because he had always been a bully. Sang-hoon and Hak-soo then reassure him that he is not weak and that he can definitely deal with Ki-ta. The other day, Chung-gil beat up Ki-tae's gang members because of how little money Ki-ta gave him. Ki-tae then explained that someone reported their activities to the school board, so they should be careful. However, Chung-gil didn't care for any reason. Coming home from school, Yong-ho went to his mother's shop, and when he got there, he saw his mother being seduced by the guests who visited the shop. Yong-ho intended to beat up those men, but he decided against it because he had made a promise to his mother not to get into a fight. Yong-ho finally decided to go to a boxing center and vent his anger by practicing boxing. After the training, Yong-ho accidentally saw Ki-tae's girlfriend, Hai-jin, in front of a motel. At that moment, Hai-jin refused her senior's invitation to have fun with him, but he kept forcing her. Noticing the incident, Yong-ho chose not to interfere and then walked away. A while later, after successfully escaping from her senior, Hai-jin came up to Yong-ho and asked why he didn't help her, and Yong-ho just kept quiet and continued on his way home. On his way home, Yong-ho saw a boy who was yelling at his sister, and without a second thought, he punched that boy. But Chan Mei scolded him because he had hurt her boyfriend. Ki-ta and his gang are back to bullying. This time, they asked their victim to steal his mom's money, and then gave all the money to them. Meanwhile, Sang-hoon and Hak-soo invited Yong-ho to skit class and have a few cigarettes in the backyard of their school. While enjoying his cigarette, Yong-ho asked about a student from Yongjin High School named Jung-il, and Sang-hoon said that Jung-il was famous as a violent bully. Yong-ho then said that Jung-il was his sister's boyfriend, and last night he fought with him because Jung-il hurt his sister. Hak-soo and Sang-hoon were amazed by Yong-ho's bravery. Right after school, Hai-jin asked Yong-ho to go home together, and she offered Yong-ho to meet her friend, but Yong-ho was not at all interested in the offer. A little while later, they unexpectedly bumped into Ki-ta and his gang. Upon seeing his girlfriend with Yong-ho, Ki-ta then called out to Hai-jin and suddenly leaned in to kiss her in front of Yong-ho and his friends. It looks like Ki-ta intentionally did this to tell Yong-ho that she was his girlfriend. However, Yong-ho didn't seem to care and walked away from there. The next day at school, Ki-ta handed over the looted money to Chung-gil, and after receiving the money from Ki-ta, Chung-gil warned Ki-ta to be careful of a senior named Sang-kae. On the way to his house, Yong-ho was suddenly intercepted by students from Yongjin High School. They wanted to avenge Yong-ho for hitting Jung-il a few days ago. A 1 versus 3 person fight then ensued. Outnumbered, Yong-ho looked overwhelmed by his opponents. Fortunately, Sang-hoon and Hak-soo arrived at the right time to help him. The trio finally won the battle against the Yongjin High School kids. Since the bullying incident involving Yongjin High School students, Yong-ho has been practicing boxing more and more. There is not a day that he misses practice. He did it all so that he would become stronger and be able to face those bullies. One day, right after school, Yong-ho and his 3 friends went to a convenience store, where they bought some snacks and beverages. As they were enjoying the snacks they had bought in front of the convenience store, Ki-ta and his gang came up to them. Ki-ta vented his frustration to Yong-ho, who had recently become famous for his bravery against bullies. Sang-hoon tried to fight Ki-ta. He said that there was nothing wrong with Yong-ho's move, and then Ki-ta threw a drink can at his face. In order to avoid a fight, Yong-ho then asked his friends to get out of there. Yong-ho and his friends then had a discussion about what they should do to stop Ki-ta and his gang's violence. Hak-soo encouraged Yong-ho to attack Ki-ta, but Yong-ho just kept quiet, and then he said goodbye to his friends. On the way home, Yong-ho accidentally met Hai-jin again. Hai-jin then invited Yong-ho to have dinner together. After having dinner, Yong-ho drove Hai-jin home, but on their way, Hai-jin kissed him. Hai-jin said that she was starting to like him. Yang-ho was stunned by Hai-jin's confession of love for him. Yang-ho then went to his mother's shop, but as usual, he saw his mother being harassed again by a horny man. However, this time, he had enough. He couldn't hold back his anger any longer. Once that pervert left his mother's shop, Yang-ho grabbed him and beat him to a pulp. The next day, Sang-hoon and Hak-soo recklessly head over and challenge Ki-ta and his gang to a fight. Before the fight begins, Ki-tae receives a call from Hai-jin asking to break up with him. Ki-ta, who was upset about breaking up with his girlfriend, then vented his frustration to Sang-hoon and Hak-soo. Ki-tae and his gang then ganged up on Sang-hoon and Hak-soo, to the point that they were badly injured. Yang-ho asked what happened to the two of them, and Hak-soo then said that Yang-ho should know what happened without asking. Hak-soo then asked why Yang-ho just kept quiet and didn't fight Ki-tae. Was Yang-ho afraid of him? Elsewhere, Jin-soo is again harassed by Ki-tae and his gang. They beat him up so badly that he was hospitalized. Yang-ho, Sang-hoon, and Hak-soo then visited Jin-soo in the hospital. They were surprised to see how badly injured Jin-soo was. But even though his hand was broken and his face was badly injured, Jin-soo was still able to smile and say that he was fine. Yang-ho's anger has reached its limit. He can't tolerate Ki-tae's outrageous behavior. Sang-hoon then invited Yang-ho to avenge Ki-tae and his gang, as well as Hak-soo, who was also set to destroy Ki-tae. Yang-ho and his friends' revenge on Ki-tae and his gang begins. Yang-ho and his friends went to the place where Ki-tae and his gang used to hang out. As soon as they got there, they challenged Ki-tae and his gang to a fight. A fierce battle ensued. With each of them trying to win. With all their might, Yang-ho and his friends finally won over Ki-tae and his gang. Since the defeat of Ki-tae and his gang, Yang-ho and his friends have been hunted by Sang-ki's gang. But Yang-ho and his friends are no longer afraid. They are ready to face the bullies who disturbed their peaceful lives. Kun-gil, who was very angry because Yang-ho had defeated Ki-tae and his gang, then ordered his men to look for Yang-ho in his class. But none of Yang-ho's classmates told them where Yang-ho was at the moment. Yang-ho was apparently enjoying a cigarette with Sang-hoon and Hak-soo. After defeating Ki-tae and his gang, Yang-ho is now a student who is feared by bullies, but respected by his friends. Suddenly, Jin-soo came and told him that Chun-gil's boys were looking for him. Without any fear, Yang-ho and his friends rushed to find Chun-gil to settle the issue between them. Following the fight, Yang-ho and his friends were called by their homeroom teacher to take responsibility for their behaviors. Their teacher then warned them not to repeat their mistakes, otherwise the school would expel them from school. The fall of Ki-tae and his gang did not mean the end of bullying in their school. Chun-gil, who was rumored to have been arrested by the police for causing a scene in a public place, handed over the leadership to his friend Seong-ta. That afternoon, Seong-ta punished all of Ki-tae's boys because they had lost the fight against Yang-ho and his friends. According to Seong-ta, their defeat had shamed the reputation of their gang. Seong-tae's frustration grew even more after he found out that Ki-tae didn't come to school when he should have also been punished, even more harshly than his gangmates. Soon after, Seong-tae and his gang met Yang-ho in his classroom and asked him to meet them on the rooftop during break time. If Yang-ho didn't come, then he wouldn't hesitate to beat him up. Yang-ho and his friends then went up to the rooftop to meet Seong-ta. When they got there, Seong-tae told Yang-ho that his goal was not to fight, but to invite Yang-ho to join his gang. Yang-ho immediately refused the offer. He did not want to be a gang member. Looking annoyed, Seong-tae asked Yang-ho to reconsider his decision. Yang-ho and his friends then discussed what they should do to deal with Seong-tae and his gang in the school cafeteria. If they decided to join Seong-tae's gang, it would make them Seong-tae's minions. Right after school, Yang-ho went to the boxing gym to train and vent his stress. When he finished his training, Yang-ho then went home, and on the way to his house, he met a group of schoolgirls who were having a cigarette party, and one of them seemed to be interested in Yang-ho, but Yang-ho ignored her and then resumed his journey home. At a billiard club, a man named Chang-ho got into an argument with high school students who were also playing billiards there. Those high school students then attempted to gang up on him, and Chang-ho was forced to resort to violence and attack them. A few moments later, Seong-tae and his gang arrived to find that those high school students who were involved in the fight with Chang-ho were his boys. Upon seeing his gang in a terrible state, Seong-tae went straight to attacking Chang-ho. There is a new student at school named Dae-chun. On his first day at school, Dae-chun accidentally bumped into Hak-soo. Instead of apologizing to Hak-soo, Dae-chun just walked away after the incident, which made Hak-soo upset. Hak-soo wanted to beat him up, but luckily Yong-ho stopped him. One night, a schoolgirl named Min-jung scammed a man. Min-jung took away the man's money after she managed to trick him. Upset at being tricked by Min-jung, the man chased after her and was about to beat her up. At the same time, Yong-ho, who happened to be nearby, ran to save Min-jung from that man. After getting rid of that man, Yong-ho advised Min-jung to be more careful. Min-jung then thanked Yong-ho for helping her. The next day, Min-jung told her friends that she had been helped by Yong-ho last night and that she planned to get to know him better. In order to realize her plan, Min-jung then met Yong-ho and matter-of-factly asked Yong-ho to go on a date and become her lover. Yong-ho, who was confused about how to react to Min-jung's unexpected request, finally just accepted her request to be her boyfriend. The two of them then dated until the evening, and it was accidentally discovered by Chami. Chami then teased her brother since, all this time, Yong-ho had never been close to a girl. The next day, Seong-tae's gang asked Jong-ho for money again. At the same time, Dae-chun arrived and asked them to stop what they were doing. But of course, the bully gang would not obey his orders. They then attacked Dae-chun, but surprisingly, the quiet Dae-chun turned out to be very good at fighting, and he even managed to beat Seong-tae's boys. Seong-ta once again scolded his gangmates for always losing fights, and he was furious at Dae-chun for humiliating his gang. For all these incidents, Seong-tae planned to take revenge. As usual, Yong-ho and his friends hung out together at an eatery. They enjoyed their time eating and chatting. Sang-hoon then had the idea to create an anti-bully club that aims to help weak students who are bullied. Yong-ho immediately agreed to the idea. Seong-ta went to Jong-ho to ask who the one who had helped him and attacked his boys the other day was. And right at that moment, Dae-chun, the person he was looking for, arrived, and Seong-ta was surprised when he saw him. As it turns out, Dae-chun is his good friend who used to be in his gang. It was revealed that Seong-tae and Dae-chun were once involved in a gang fight with students from another high school, and in that incident, Dae-chun's leg was badly injured. When they were taking a break under the bridge, suddenly the police came to arrest them. When the police arrived, Seong-tae and his friends ran away, leaving Dae-chun, who couldn't run because of his injured leg. Dae-chun was eventually arrested by the police, and he was suspended from school. Since that incident, Dae-chun has broken off his friendship with Seong-ta. Returning from school, Yong-ho and Jin-soo practiced boxing together. And while later, Dae-chun came and greeted them both. Yong-ho and Dae-chun's friendship was finally noticed by Seong-tae's boys, and they were very worried. According to them, if Yong-ho and Dae-chun are together, then their powers will be unbeatable. The news of Yong-ho and Dae-chun's friendship finally reached Seong-tae's ears, and he then planned to meet Dae-chun to deal with him. Yong-ho and his friends were spending time together at a karaoke bar, and Min-jung and Dae-chun also joined them. But Dae-chun decided to go home first. A little while later, Sang-hoon and his friends saw Seong-tae and his gang following Dae-chun. Out of fear that something bad would happen to Dae-chun, Sang-hoon and his friends decided to follow the gang secretly. His fears turned out to be true. Seong-tae attacked Dae-chun. Dae-chun then countered the attack swiftly, and he managed to make Seong-tae overwhelmed. However, because many of Seong-tae's boys attacked him all at once, Dae-chun couldn't fight them all alone. They attacked him from behind and swarmed him all together. Luckily, Sang-hoon and his friends arrived and rushed to help Dae-chun. The number of Seong-tae's boys made the battle unfair. Outnumbered, Dae-chun, Sang-hoon, and his friends were cornered and lost the fight. Thankfully, Jin-soo managed to escape from there, and he immediately went to Yong-ho. Jin-soo told him that Sang-hoon was being ganged up on by Seong-tae's gang. Upon hearing this, Yong-ho ran to help his friends. Yong-ho jumped on Seong-tae with his kicks and managed to make Seong-tae fall down. He eventually defeated Seong-tae and his gang. Since his success in defeating Seong-tae and his gang, Yong-ho and his friends are now greatly feared by other school gangsters, and they have also become the main rulers in their school. They now occupy the rooftop of the school building that was previously under Seong-tae and his gang's control. At the end of the movie, a man is seen scolding Seong-tae for his defeat. As it turns out, Seong-tae is not the real gang leader because, above him, there is still someone who is more powerful than him. Then the film ends.